Great. Hey everyone, welcome to Conversations with Coaches with Kelly Mariano, a part of Coach's Corner. Today we have Brendon Brown. Last name's Brown, right? I
Yes,
never
sir.
get the, for some funny, for whatever reason, I never wind up looking at the name before I talk to the person. Usually I know them some way, but I'm like, then I got to think about the last name for a second. I really have to start writing that down. But anyway, he's joining with us tonight, and we're going to just get to know him and what brought him into the coaching arena. Excuse me. So, Brenda, tell me what kind of, well, tell us who you are, first of all, and, just kind of on a basic level, who you are.
On a basic level, um so my basis is my basis or my I guess you could say my foundational platform is wellness and fitness coaching.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um but who I am though, I'm not sure that says who I am. Who I am, I'm a young man from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm formally educated up through college and university at University of Delaware. Graduated from there with the exercise and sports science degree. But who I am really is I'm a compassionate, uh, driven, I would say ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
and dedicated people person. Yeah, yeah. So I'm somebody who's interested in obviously part of what we're sitting here talking about. I'm interested in helping others bring the best out of themselves and get the best out of them. So I think that would cover who I am
Okay. So,
to a degree.
well, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
So, tell me something. Since you mentioned the schooling and what you went to school for, where you was the plan to what was your plan for direct after school? Were you looking to do what you do now, or were you looking to do something maybe more directly in athletics? I mean, specifically maybe with teams, and maybe you're doing that now. I don't know. So tell me how that, what your plan was, and is that going in the direction you would like it to right now?
So my initially when I got into fitness and wellness coaching, my initial academic path was actually physical therapy. So physical therapy and rehab medicine essentially, and really operating in that arena. But once I worked as a PT assistant and got in some different inpatient outpatient arenas and scenarios, what I found is that I didn't really enjoy it too much. um what I didn't enjoy was it was always about obviously rehabilitation. So I wanted to be able to help enhance people who had who already had a substantial amount of I guess you could say comprehension and familiarity with their own skill set, we could say.
Okay.
So that pushed me over more into the actual sports and fitness arena, and then I ended up doing some different things like within the school districts and worked in different capacities with developing and writing, fitness programs, wellness programs, after school programs for kids and all different demographics. Worked with elderly people and all sorts of things, athletes. Um, so that's what got me in, and then what I you asked about where I am and what I kind of am I where I want to be. um I would say so. It's interesting that I've just kind of gone into some other things and branched into some other things just recently.
Okay.
Um I like to approach things organically anyway. So while I do plan and I am a big planner, I do like I make room for things to evolve as well. So I would say I'm on the path that I'd like to be on now, for sure. I'm more so digital and virtual now at this point, on at least on the with the fitness and wellness part of what's going on with the pandemic and beyond. And
Hmm.
yeah, so
So did what got you when you didn't think that the physical therapy part was, you weren't necessarily feeling that as much. what got you directly over into, hey, let me, or you already knew you wanted to help people, yeah, kind of enhance their skill set? And what made you decide to, hey, let me go over there and I can help these people directly? Or how did you even know that you could? Or was it the education that you received that actually prepared you to do that directly? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, no, so the education, not so much. I worked as a personal trainer the last like year and a half for college.
Okay. Oh,
Um, and and just getting into that, I loved it. I loved the interaction. I like dealing with different people. And ironically, after years of doing it, that's also something that starts to actually wear on you a bit. So but I was excited about helping just different, different demographics, being able to help different people at different times. Um, and trying to, oh, so my, so, so then just, I guess organically from there, I got into different things. I got different opportunities came about. I also went into the military for a few years. So that was that was completely different. Um, yeah. So I got I got I had some good mentors. I had some really good I just had some good professionals around me. And for that reason I got to travel a little bit within, within the whole fitness and wellness um industry and just worked in different capacities within it. So
okay. So what you said that you got sort of wear on you. What part of it did you feel was sort of wearing on you? Because I can definitely relate to um, one of the things I told my wife is when you're when we're coaching, even with as a business coach, what happens
mhm,
is we wind up not just talking about business, of course, right? Because your life is somehow going to intertwine, or at least kind of fit in that groove with your business. So if your life is in disarray, or if you're just not comfortable in your own skin, a lot of that's going to show up in what we do. So there's a lot of emotion that kind of comes into play, not boo-hoo emotion, but just a lot of stuff
mhm,
going on in people's lives. And a lot of times when someone comes to a business coach, sometimes they're stuck, and sometimes they're stuck because of them. And sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And we got to help you get out of, help a person get out of their own way. So that I know can be wearing or exhausting. And even the way I'm wired as a person, I don't know your belief background if we've ever had this type of conversation, but I believe God wires people differently for different purposes and to be able to handle different things. So you may be able to handle something that I can't.
yeah,
I can be able to handle something that you can't, whether you're not specifically wired to do. But one of the things for me is always that I've always been a person that people just pour out stuff that I don't need to know. You know what I mean? Like
right,
tell me about something from their past. We're not even talking about that. Or I may have just met them and they're telling me a deep, dark life secret. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I'm wondering what for you was, from that arena was what you kind of be wearing, on you.
um well, more more than anything, so specifically when dealing when training or working with clients on an actual in-person one-on-one basis,
Mm-hmm.
um, whether that's actually like physically training someone or sitting down and going through a program, um, and essentially programming a person, developing a program for them. What so through the course of a day,
Mm-hmm.
if I, especially working in where I first experienced this was working in a gym atmosphere. Now working in a gym atmosphere, I think at most I've seen, at the peak of my training, I could see like anywhere from 8 to like 12 different people in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So the different personalities and a little bit of what you were saying, like just dealing with the different issues, dealing with the different, again, the personalities. You might have someone who doesn't like to talk at all, and then someone who like who can completely go. and
Mhm.
will like run you into your next obligation or whatever that is. You have to, you know, just that whole thing of treating everybody the same, and having essentially you got to create space for everybody. So no matter if they're here or wherever they are on the spectrum, so to say, um, it's just that continual allowing of space for everyone else. And then, like you said, I'm still in the course of a day, I obviously have things that are coming up that are important to me as well.
Mhm.
So being able to, so I think that whole thing of like putting my own self not last, but putting others in front of myself constantly,
Mhm.
um, and then having sometimes to burn the oil at both ends, because there's not enough necessarily time for myself within that day. So then, like you said, we're coaching and we're giving because you want to give your best. This is something that people are paying for. This is something people are, people come to you for results and for performance. So if I'm not at the top of my game, then I don't even want to coach because I'm not giving somebody what they deserve. I'm not giving them I'm not giving them everything that I can. So so just that, like that again, that balance of and then if you're going through some things, you're going through some things at home or everything, or dealing with some things on the business front or whatever maybe going on. You can't show any of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think it's something that people who maybe aren't necessarily always, dealing with others in their profession, maybe don't really, connect or able to really appreciate that to a full degree. So really that just the biggest block of my time is for everybody else.
One of the things that I found that do you remember how you and I know each other or how we met? Who put us together? Okay.
Yes.
I
Yep.
didn't want to say the person's name, but anyway. But the point is, like when I was coaching that person, the thing that was interesting is I've known her for 20 plus years. So she had insight into my life and what was going on that a typical client would not be exposed to or have any idea was any.
Right. Right.
So that was interesting too because there's a component where we're there. If I'm coaching you, like I don't want to talk about my life. We're talking about you, and there was an intermixing,
Right.
and I had to try to. It was really a challenge at times to try to keep the two separate because that's not what we were there for. And then, like to your point, I can't give my best to you if we're talking. If we got me on the counseling couch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
it was just a interesting component. And like you said, when you're going through more in your life, your head's not really as clear. And you don't really think about it until you're doing something. You're like, oh man, I wish I was thinking I should have caught this or that or whatever. And you really gotta try to find space to get yourself clear before you well
Yes.
you would definitely be because I remember seeing something where you were promoting like a mindfulness class.
Yeah.
I don't know much
Um,
about that world at all, but I would just from the cursory parts, I would think that someone that's at all interested in that would know that you got to take a moment to kind of reset
yeah.
yourself. And I think that is a huge key, and a lot of us don't take time to do that to reset ourselves in any capacity. And I think we wind up running ourselves in the ground, and that's one of the challenges with coaches. Even when coaches, I was talking to a coach the other day, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to, triple, quadruple, like basically multiply his business." And I said, "Well, you really got to shift away from the type of coaching you're doing. You have to get into you have to go virtual or some kind of hybrid. Like one of the things I'm working on now, so more of a hybrid model where the main coaching component is coming through video, or you log into education system, you get the content, and then we're going to talk about that content. You'll do your homework as it
Hmm.
pertains to you. And then when we talk, you've already done that. I don't have to teach you. I don't need to spend one of our sessions directly teaching you something that you could have learned on a video 5 days before we met.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
I can speed things up too, because now when we're talking, if you understand that, I'm on to the next thing. If you don't, then now we have time to get clarity around whatever. So when you go back and deal with whatever you're doing with your homework, you can really hit it better because you have an understanding of exactly what I mean as it pertains to your business. One of the things I was explaining to somebody this week, a couple times this week, is that one of the challenges sometimes with life coaches is the word, like for you, well, actually, I don't know. Actually, that's the next question coming your way is what are
Hmm.
people, when someone comes to you, I want to know what it is they come to you with. Like when we go to the doctor, hey, I got a pain in my side, broke my leg, whatever. We have something that we're kind of manifesting or like presenting, is what they call it in psychology, I guess. There's something that we're presenting. So I want to know what folks are presenting. But what I was going to say about life coaches is very often when they talk about, like when you go on LinkedIn and you look at somebody right under someone's name or their photo, it'll have what's called a headline. And like mine says, I help coaches and consultants, blah blah blah. I shouldn't say blah blah blah, but you know what I'm saying. Like it has
Hmm.
that underneath.
Hmm.
But like sometimes the wording under there is so, I would almost say ornate, like it's like language that we don't use when we're talking to one another. But life
Hmm.
coaches sometimes use it, or anyway, sometimes life coaches use it. I was trying to be careful with my words because I don't want to sound
Hmm.
like I'm dismissing anything or anyone. But the problem is, there's things that people say that doesn't really mean a lot in real life. Like if I said, "Hey, Brendon, I'm having this class. So, we're gonna teach men to be all that they can be." Da 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 da. That might mean one thing to you, but a
Hmm.
completely different thing to your boy if you shared it with him. Even if I shared it with you guys together and said the exact same words, you guys are both hearing, you guys are both men, even if you were the same ages, it would mean completely different things to you. And I was like, there's
Right.
some things where, as a coach or business owner at all, when you're articulating what you do for someone, it has to be crystal clear what it means to that person. That's why we tell
Yeah.
people to get to an avatar. When you identify a specific person, you don't have to worry about, oh, it might mean this to this person, this, that person. The ideal person I'm looking for, it means this. That's what it means to that person.
Right.
I'll get to the other one. Like if I was coaching a fitness person, like one of the things we might do is like if they deal with both men and women, we might do something, go right after men. Like if that's your strong suit, go right after men first. We'll we'll create a completely separate campaign for
Hmm.
women because the wording is different. Like if I want to get Diesel, yeah, I mean, not that a woman can't want to get, whatever, like rock hard or whatever.
Hmm.
But the reality is, a lot of times they're looking for something a little different than maybe a man is looking for. Not all the time. I mean, this is your world, right? But the reality is, sometimes those are different things that we're looking for. So if I'm looking for the woman who's just had her third kid and she's trying to drop 25 pounds, but she wants to get toned and stuff like that. Like my wife talks about wanting to get toned. I don't know if you know, we had a son 4 months ago, right? So
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Congratulations again. Definitely. Yeah.
So for her, and she's moderately thin anyway, so she's not like a big girl. So,
Hmm.
if she were to say, oh, I'm trying to get toned, that's different than if you're dealing with a woman that needs to drop 100 pounds. You're dealing with completely different situations. So
Right.
the way you would market it to them has to be different because they're not, the answer they want is not the same. Now, for me, my primary thing is for coaches and consultants because usually their issue, first of all, is not having enough clients and etc. Right? They don't have enough leads, turn into clients, etc. Because we don't always, when we're learning what we do, we don't necessarily learn how to go get other clients, right?
Yeah.
Or how to
Yeah.
get them consistently, which is fun. I mean, it's not funny, but like one of the things I'm doing, I'm so active in LinkedIn now that I, I don't know, I'm probably getting 12 to 15 conversations, not these conversations that we're having, different types of conversation, whether it's a call, a 15-minute, what I call coffee chat, or it's an actual discovery session where we're digging deeper into their business and finding out if we're going to, work together. But the point is, the potential's out there. We just have to understand. We just got to get some clarity around our message, and that's what I was getting at with one of the challenges with life coaches is because of the language they're using. It's very hard to draw people in because when people go to their website, they don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I go to your website and you might be talking about something. Like, what is he talking? I don't know. I don't know if I want that or not.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right,
so
right.
I'm wondering, like for you, what are you finding with your ideal client? This is your ideal. This is not. It may not even be the most that you serve. It may be the one that you're like, man, God, if I could identify who I want to work with, this is what they're coming to me for. Who is that person?
Well, it's that's evolved. So now,
Mm-hmm.
um, currently, what that's somebody who so that client is somebody who actually already has a already has a base of knowledge and understanding to a degree in their own well, we could say generally um a some form of a basic comprehension of nutrition and exercise. And what I mean by that is not any sort of formal education at all, but just an understanding, a comprehension. Um, because I'm at a point in my own professional life where I guess I'm not as much interested in teaching from ground up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because for one, there's a whole host of people who are interested in that, and that's what they do, and that's what they do well, and I don't like with fitness, wellness in general. It's much broader than a lot of people would probably think. It's not just like, I want to get in shape. It's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot more to it. It's and who that person is, and their level of comprehension is coming to you comes into play. Their level of dedication, how serious they are about whatever it is that they're looking to do, and then also their personality type. So people who are kind of hard to keep on track and to keep and not self starters at all. It's not, that I'm not at a place in my career um where that's really the demographic that connects and that I click with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's more so people who already have a level of who already have a level of comprehension at least into what they want to do,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
um, so that I can give them the specific information, coaching, and insight to get them from that A to B. So
So
does that answer the question?
yes. So if someone
Okay.
doesn't fit into that arena, do you make exceptions for certain folks if they fit like, if you had 10 criteria and they fit 8 of them, you're like, yeah, that's close enough. Or like, how do you do, or do you pass them on to, someone else? Because if someone came to me, like right now I'm focusing on coaches and consultants. Now, obviously I can help someone that has a storefront and whatever,
Hmm.
it's a different animal. I
Hmm.
prefer service-based because you can control your pricing very differently than you can with a product. Like, I don't care how cool we are, you're not coming in my store buying a $50 Butterfinger, right? It's not going
Right.
to,
Right.
I can't create more profit, but I can create perceived value on the coaching side. If one of the coaches that I work with, I'm not coaching him, he's actually a coach of mine, but he was talking about his goal. He said, my goal moving forward is to have all the coaches make $100,000 a month. He said, now you don't, he said, realistically, you don't need $100,000 a month. Like, I mean, that's what he said. Now he's making 400 grand a month, but he's telling you, you really don't need 100 grand. He said, realistically, he said, most people can live a good life at 200,000, 250,000. You're in pretty good shape.
Hmm.
Uh, but I forget where I was going with that. But anyway, the point is, what was going with that? Oh, I gotta start writing down my thoughts. I'm getting older. You know what it is? That's that nutrition. That's nutrition. But anyway, yeah, I hate when that thought just gets away from me. But anyway, yeah, I wish I would.
You were saying you were talking about the perceived value versus like service based
Oh yeah. That's
or product based.
yeah,
Excuse
yeah.
me.
So with that, one of the things you talk about is, you know, like with my coaching, in my profile on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
it says, you know, that I help coaches and consultants to get, sorry about the notifications, but anyway, I help coaches and consultants to get to 5 figures a month, right? So that's 10,000 or more. Now he already knows he can get you to 6 figures. So if somebody can get you to 6 figures a month, regardless of what kind of coaching you're doing, right?
Hmm.
Theoretically, or at least inherently, there's additional value there, right? Like, and I like to explain to people this way: if you're, so let's say your coaching program, you're generating 5 grand a month, but you want to generate 20,000, but you're at 5, and I'm like, hey, I can get you to 20.
Hmm.
So the net difference obviously is 15,000, and you kind of multiply that out over the course of the year, and that's what direct tangible value. If I get you to 20, that's direct tangible value that I brought to your practice. But it's not just for that year. Whatever I taught you, you're probably not going to stop. You're not going to like, you know what? I'm tired of making 20 grand. Let me go back to 5. That's probably
Right.
what's going to happen. So the reality is the value is, it's not infinite, but it's large, right? So if somebody's charging 10 grand, 20 grand for their program, even though a lot of people, you know, kind of do this when they hear about a program that's really expensive, I'm like, I don't think of it that way anymore. I just go, huh. It always makes you just go, and think about the value that the program
Yeah.
brings. Matter of fact, I was talking to a coach. Her name is Orly, and she's a speaker coach. That's all she does. Speakers get out into the circle. She has a guarantee that even if it's your first time, you've never spoken on stage in your life, she's telling you she can get you to 6 figures within 12 months. You're gonna make 6 figures in 12 months. And she said she's never had anyone miss that mark that wanted to get to that mark. So when she was telling me about her program, and I'm listening, and she said, I said, well, how much is the program? And she said it was 5,000. I said, Orly, I know I'm on the wrong side of this conversation to say this to you. I said, but your prices are too low. I was like, if you get somebody, if you know for a fact you can get me to 6 figures in 12 months, I mean, even if you
Right.
5 and get some on the back end, like I'll take a percentage of your profit on the back end. So I get 6 figures, I get 10% on the back end, it's another 10 grand. I would gladly pay that because she brought that much value to it, at least 6 figures of value, especially if you've never spoken. So I was like, you know, too often when we, in our society, we're accustomed to believing that price is the driver. And it's like, price is not the driver. And I've said this many times to people, price isn't the driver. I said, price was always the driver. Rolls Royce and Bentley could never exist. Certainly, what's the most expensive car? Bugatti. Well, it's not. They kind of teeter, but you know what I'm saying. The point is, those cars couldn't exist because, you know. And I said, if you go to buy a Mercedes and you can't afford it, Mercedes doesn't lower their price because you can't afford their car.
Nope.
I've never seen. I used to work for Mercedes Guild when I was like 18 to like 21, 22. I've never seen anybody walk in there and they go, oh yeah, we'll bring it down to the price of a Chevy. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to happen.
Nah.
So
it's not.
It's all about perceived value, right? Like we have a perception about Mercedes that they're high end. Now you probably already know the story that like in Germany, they use them for cabs. They're cabs.
Yeah.
But where over here, our perception is high end vehicles, you know, like Range Rovers and all these kinds of vehicles. So the perception has set the value. But my thing is, when I'm working with a coach, I always tell them to set your prices based on the value that you're bringing to the table. What result are you helping them to get? That's what the value should be based on. But a lot of times as coaches, we wind up, I heard, Jesus, I was talking to a lady last week, and she said, oh yeah, I'm charging $30 a session. I was like, I almost wanted to cry for her. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Because of the type of transformation that she was bringing to lives, $30 is almost an offense. Like, I'd feel offended. If you were doing that for me, I'd feel offended to even offer you 30 an hour because it's just offensive, you know?
Right.
So, I just think that's interesting how we look at numbers and how we even perceive the work that we do as coaches because it's transformative, right? You're helping to change somebody's body or whatever they're trying to do. I don't know if do you do any work where you're like prepping athletes like college or high school athletes for college or any athlete for their next level? Are you doing that like that? So
Yes.
that's huge,
Yes.
right? That's huge.
Absolutely.
Listen, there's a guy in Pennsylvania. Maybe I shouldn't say his name. Anyway, but I knew his wife from when we were kids, and then we connected on Facebook and we started talking. And they have I guess it's more or less a fitness center. But anyway, so we sat down and talked. We were talking for like an hour. I went to their place. We were talking for an hour. And then at the end of the conversation, somewhere he mentions in passing that they have a 92% effective rate. 92% of their clients get college scholarships. And that's why that's why parents are bringing their kids to him, is because they want them to get over the hump so that they're just a little sharper than the next guy so that they can get the scholarship. And I said,
Yeah.
okay, you have a 92% effective rate. I said, and he was talking about like the Planet Fitnesses of the world. And I said, yeah, I said, here's the problem. They have no idea what you're worth because you're not telling. Nowhere in his information, I had been on his website. I had his pamphlet in my hand. We had talked for an hour. It took him an hour to get to the point where he mentions this huge, colossal,
Right.
I own this market type of information. Like that is unbelievably huge. If I bring my kid to you and that's what I want, and you're telling me you're 92% effective at that, you got a deal. I'll figure out the money part. You got a deal. But my kid's coming to you because I want them to be in the hands of the best that I can get. And I don't think I'm going to find 100%. So 92, it sounded pretty good. And but he totally discounted that. And he was telling me how he was always having to lower his prices because people couldn't afford it. And I was like, it's not always about can't afford. Sometimes it's about they don't know to afford it, right? Like, if I was selling you a winning lottery ticket, you'd find every dime possible on this earth.
Right.
Lottery ticket out of my hand. And I was like, that's what people don't think about, you know, and I've done stuff in the past, classes I wanted to take, coaching I wanted to get. I sold the car that I had. I had one car and I sold that car. And I went back, I went from my, not that it was a big deal, but I went from my Infinity coupe to my mom's old Saturn 4-door. That's the kind of, you know what I mean? So when people say, I don't have, I'm like, are you digging deep? Like, really? Like, what do you,
right.
Or like, I'm sure you see it too. Like, people do stuff, or like, I used to train people in martial arts, and I'm like, they've been like complaining about, like, oh, you push too hard. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, if I attack you in the street, what are we going to say? Give me a minute. Let me catch my wind.
Right.
I was like, listen, we're talking about life or death situations, not, you know, like who looks best or who can do the most pull-ups.
Right.
And you're trying to get strong for a purpose. So if a joker run up on you, you need to be able to end that situation as quickly as humanly possible. And that's like, you know, like I'm a smaller dude, so I already know size is not going to be on my side, right? Like I'm 5'4", so I'm
same here.
Yeah, I'm going to do. Well, your sons are getting tall. I see them.
Yeah, I mean, I got you on the height, but I got you on the height, but my size. Like,
Bill.
Yeah. I'm not a big guy, you know.
Yeah.
No.
So you are pretty tall, right? Aren't you like 6? Are you 6 feet?
I'm 5'10" and a half.
Okay.
I need. Yeah, I got the half. The half. I need the half. Yeah. I used to be 5'11". I already lost the half an inch.
Wow. I told my wife, I said, I'm probably, I mean, because a lot of times we wind up losing height. So I was like, man, I'm going to get short.
Yeah.
But, you know, anyway, but, I forgot what I was saying with that. But anyway, why was I going? This is going to be my memory. I need a memory class.
You're saying about you need to be able to end it as quickly as possible.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying that we need a different mindset overall. Like, first of all, we need people to teach us that it's not about dollars and cents, and that money's not running from us. I think I don't know if you're like a kind of a church person. I don't know if you grew up in the church, but when you do, like, there's this mindset that goes along with being in church. Like, if you have too much money, it's like almost always assumed to be filthy lucre. Not not like you can't just really
Right.
live a nice life. And it becomes a thing where you don't even really think as much about it because it feels like it's contrary to what people believe. Like when years ago when I was married before, um, we had a pretty nice house. It was like 4,000 square feet, whatever. It was like half
Mm-hmm.
a million dollars, right? But this was in the top of the market when the market was at, in
Mm-hmm.
2008, we, got the house. And my income immediately plummeted because I had a job and then I went full time real estate and real estate was starting to tank. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I was struggling. So I was like looking for other things to do, I had connected with some network marketing folks and we bought a couple real estate properties just before that. So I'm out there, like I'm hustling to try to get this
Mm-hmm.
done because I kind of think that's what you're supposed to do as a man, right? You're supposed to make sure you're not gonna let your house go down without a fight. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right. Right.
and I was getting questioned like, oh, like if you have more trust in the Lord and stuff like that. I was like, this trust in the Lord
Gotcha.
have to do with me needing to pay my bills. Like if God said slow down, or like I was like, I didn't stop going to church. I was still going to church
Right.
Sundays and Wednesdays, and I was still getting that kind of feedback. I was like, what exactly do you guys want from me? You know what I mean? Like I'm getting it in, but like I get it in for my family too. And I think we
Yeah.
really know how to find balance and kind of clear out some of that foolishness that we've grown up with or that's been poured into us over the years of just whatever. And I'm not here to pick on religion. You know what I mean? I'm still a believer, so follow, you know, principles of the Bible. At least that's my goal to do. But the reality is a lot of stuff in church is
Mm-hmm.
not consistent with what the Bible says. And I think that we get that kind of stuff messed up. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, some
Yeah.
people have an issue with just calling it what it is, but that is a challenge. So let me ask you something. You said you were in the
Mhm.
military. Are we? I can't. Is it nine? Oh, it's eight.
I'm not even sure.
All
It
right,
is
I put that.
8:44.
So, you said you were in the military. What branch were you in?
I was in the army.
Okay. Did you? How long were you in?
I was in the army for a whopping 3 years.
Okay. Did you get injured?
A couple times. I had I had some traumatic stuff with my spine, my back.
Oh,
So, yep.
all right. So, are you familiar with Goggins? David Goggins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, when you mentioned military, it made me think of him. I did a mastermind last year, towards the end of the year. And it's funny, I guess we were kind of preparing for this year, not knowing what we had in front of us.
Mm.
But he is such I don't know, like we used to joke about him like he's a nut. Because it's like,
Hmm.
this dude, first of all, I, I don't think he can have a conversation without an F word. And not even, I don't think that's possible. But
Or running.
how,
Or running.
oh, yeah, yeah. 100-mile run. I'm looking at like the screen, like, the heck? I was like, if I'm going 100 miles, you can believe a car is involved. It will have nothing to
Yeah,
do with my legs other than
he's hardcore
stepping
for real.
into the car. I was like, what are your thoughts of him? Like, are you like a follower of his, like a support? Like, what do you think of him?
Um,
I know he's kind
I wouldn't say. Um, I mean, yeah, I guess I am. I guess I do follow him. I don't. I guess I was gonna say like I don't. I wouldn't necessarily say I follow him closely,
of,
but I do follow him. I do follow his work. I respect his work because he because he expresses a big element and a big really a big element of what it takes to be successful and in anything.
he does.
Um, I think in this day and age, we when I say we human beings,
Mm-hmm.
we're not as willing to deal with hardship and difficulty in the pursuit of what it is that we say, not even we say we want all the time, but even just like our purpose, what we believe we're here for. Like even that requires like a great deal of sacrifice.
Hmm.
I mean, just to be fulfilled, without even saying like going over the top or being like ultra successful, just to live a life of fulfillment. You have to like deal with things with grace too, and not just get through it, but get through it right. Like get through it with some degree of like a positive attitude,
Hmm.
with some sort of positive outlook. So yeah, so David Goggins, I can yeah, I think again, the majority of human beings, I speak from this Western culture and this Western civilization, um, are just soft. So yes.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. As much as I joke, as much as we joke about Goggins, when I talked to other people that were in that mastermind, everybody had a level of respect for him because you're like, this dude is a beast. Like no matter what you think
Yeah.
of, yeah, maybe you wouldn't do it that hardcore. Maybe he didn't have to go that hardcore, but it was a road that worked for him, and he really had a, you know, excuse the expression, but kind of like an effort mentality to anything that was contrary to what he was trying to do. So the thing is, if we could all get to that, and I'm not saying we necessarily need to use that terminology, but the point is, if we could take that mentality when we're going after something like this is what I'm going to do, this is what I need to do in my life, and just go after where you literally are not willing to take no for an answer. Like a lot of people will push. They'll push until it hurts a little. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like even when I
Yep.
talk like with train, and I'm sure you can relate to this because you're training different folks. So, but like when I'm to
Hmm.
it's funny. I was part of a different martial arts school for. I did a number of different martial arts: American Kempo, I did Tung Sudo, I did Taekwondo. The first one I had a black belt in was Tung Sudo, and then I was wound up. I was dating a girl who had two sons, and the two sons were doing. They were going to a basketball camp at a church in South Jersey, and then they wound up that program right outside the program. They were offering karate, and then she wanted to sign the kids up for karate. She knew that was my background or whatever. So I was like, yeah, it's probably good for them because she had adopted these boys. They were kind of in the system.
Hmm.
So we went on and got involved with that. And then I went to the instructor there and I said, listen, I have a little background in martial arts. So if you ever need help on the floor, I'd be glad to help. And it was like, oh, sure. So I started, bringing my uniform and started, helping out or whatever. But I wasn't leading in any way. I was just there. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
helping people make corrections and stuff like that. And Taekwondo just is a little different than Tung Sudo, but not very different. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
The likelihood is if you went out and got a black belt Tung Sudo, you probably could the next weekend get a black belt Taekwondo because they're close
Gotcha.
enough. Um, but anyway, so fast forward a good while, and I drive the entire class. Like they have me drive the class from opening to closing. One of the ladies that was in the class, because we had kids and adults in the same class, she came up. Funny, her name is Kelly too. She came
Hmm.
up and she said, "That was a workout," and I was like, "It really shouldn't stand out that was a workout." You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
They
right,
all
right,
work
right.
to a degree where you feel like you really got it in. And,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the case. And then the other thing, excuse me, I started to discover about traditional martial arts is a lot of times they're not preparing you for real life. It's
Mm.
like everything's staged. Like I put my arm out, you grab it, and then I know how to get your hand. Well, when is a grown man ever going to grab my arm as another grown man? You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Right, right.
That's not isn't necessarily practical. It could happen, I guess, but it's not really practical. So I taught a couple times. A friend of mine had a fitness center in South Jersey, and
Hmm.
we did a women's self defense class there, and it's funny how women respond to situations where they're being attacked. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know how I'd respond because I've never really been attacked since I've been a martial artist. But the thing is, they don't realize how traumatic it is because like a lot of times women go, "Oh, I'll just kick him in his groin or whatever."
Right.
And first of all, the funny thing is they don't know what they're kicking. They just know it's the general area
Right.
And I was like, you know, I remember telling my wife, I was like, you know, it's not the penis, right? That's not what you're
Right.
for. She said, no, I didn't. She, what am I striking for? I said, it's the testicle. The testicle
Yeah.
hurt. Penis,
Right.
and not being funny. I said, but you could beat that for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like you could hit that and
Yeah.
okay. It's like getting punched in the arm.
Right.
Except you don't not gonna like where it is, but you know what I'm saying. So I was
Right.
no, and I was like, so people are so ill informed. I was like, they're vulnerable to things and not realizing how
Mm.
vulnerable they are. So I started kind of pouring that in. And on the other side of martial arts, like when I was training, that's when I had to learn. I was always afraid to see what my limit was. You
Mm.
know, like if you and I were racing or something like that, I would run, but I might just make an assumption because you're taller, maybe a little more athletic than me and stuff, that you were going to beat me. So I'm not even going to go 100% because I'm already going to lose. Like that was the way I would think.
Got you.
But then when I got older, I mean, once I was doing martial arts, now I was in my 30s. And I had open heart surgery at like 31. And then the next year I started training.
Nice.
And then I started realizing I was doing stuff that I wouldn't do before. Like something would happen, I'd get bloody, and I'm still going in. Like we're still
Yeah.
getting in. Like
Yeah.
by the time they go, okay, now we're gonna stop. You need a little band-aid. No, we
Yeah.
got it in. We were training. He wouldn't do this with like the kids, but the instructor I had, we trained on hardwood floor. So when we were rolling and falling and doing takedowns, it was on the floor. He was like, "There's no
Yeah.
carpet outside. There's no mats on the street." He said,
Right.
"So training on the mats is not it's not really integral with what's going to happen, what's likely to happen in real life." And he and I, we'd spar without equipment and just like he was a full contact fighter. So it's fine for him. He's about your height, obviously solid as a rock. But I was like, because I would kick him and he would just go, I'm like, really? Can you act like it hurt? Anyway, but I had to learn to push myself to give it all, to put it all on
Yeah.
the table. So
Yeah.
then I was like, yo, if a Joker come and we sparring, fight, whatever it is, you getting it. Like, you're not getting,
Yeah.
I'm not going to just stand there and try to hold my ground. Like, we had this guy that came in. He was from the military. He was an Army cat. He was 6'2", but he was like a monster. Like, he was
Mhm.
like a little mini hawk. I think he said he was like 230. And so he and I were sparring, and I took him down. Now, what I didn't think is that this big man knew how to fight on the ground. Didn't know that. So I put him down, but then I'm like, now I'm wrestling with a bear. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
even with that, I didn't give up because the man was bigger. I was able to reach up and engage his neck in a way that caused him to let me go. Because I know how to I can take it to that level. But the thing is, we all have these stopping points in our life where we're not used to giving it our all or never used to needing to think about it that way. So then I learned to push people to try to extract it all from them. So then I started hating when people would be whining about my training. Like, oh, this is too hard or whatever. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
We don't get
Well,
a chance to determine when we get attacked or who is attacking us. Like, don't attack me if you're over 5'5", over 150 pounds,
right.
a man, whatever.
I think our education system kind of sets us up with that though. I
Yeah,
I believe, yeah, like our what I what I look at and what I assess with our society, where yeah, I mean from the moment we enter into like kindergarten, most everything we encounter at that point is basically doing what we're told. So we learn systematically to respond to others and to respond to the demand of others as opposed to like digging deep and and you know basically cultivating self and what's going on with self and what's inside of you, what you're made of. Like we're not that's not a big part of our. I mean, I look at stuff like this. We haven't even like, why do we not learn to how to walk in school? Think about it. Or like properly sit down. Like there's a way to be human.
mm-hmm.
you know, like, and we don't get taught that. We don't get taught how to be an optimal human being. And that's where what you're talking about, that's the things that come into it, because we're we're almost like living in like the Truman Show, you know? It's like that type of scenario where, you know, everything is like set up as this, you know, ideally you will be going into something like this and doing something like this with your life,
Hmm.
because we've had it so good. So it's like difficulty, problems, real issues, real life, honestly. Like, I mean, even putting a seed in the ground, and and how about putting the seed in the ground properly, and and you know, and then cultivating the seed to get, you know, to get the fruit, or the plant to actually sprout from out of the ground. I mean, that's a part of earth, but so many of us are removed from that process. So many of us are just, we get bent out of shape if we go to the produce section and don't have our favorite fruit. Like,
Hmm.
we don't even realize what goes into getting the fruit out of the ground.
Yeah.
So I think our society makes us soft. Our society makes, you know, and it creates this idea of like, where it separates us from the work that's involved with cultivation and actual life.
Yeah, I think this wonderful first world society that we have affords us the opportunity to do that, and but it takes something away from us at the same time. Because like my wife is from Haiti,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
different. It's different for them. Like water is different. Electricity every day is like a thing or not a thing, you know, in different places. She was
Yeah.
like, you know, when they get electricity, you got to go iron everything you might want to wear in the next week because you don't know when electricity is coming again. You know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When she talks about that, I'm like, can't relate. Like we
Right.
know we have no way of relating to that unless you're like maybe deep south, back in the cut somewhere where
Right.
how you don't have any power like or regular power. We can't relate to that. That's not something that we even think about. But and a lot of that, like you said, I think we even get removed from thinking of as individuals. Like
Yes.
we try to think as a collective, and that's
Yes.
um, I'm not going to get political, but there's a girl Candace Owen.
Uh-huh. I
So
know.
she
I
talks about
know.
how feeling like people of color are being driven one way or the other based on the word racism and stuff like that every 4 years. And the funny thing is, I was
Mhm.
thinking about this earlier today. I said that to somebody before I ever heard of her. I said I wasn't talking about any party. I just said, you know what? I said, did y'all ever notice how once the election happened, some of the stuff that was a big deal suddenly isn't? I said, like before the election, before Trump
Right.
the election, I said, looked like a black man was getting shot every other day. Like it really felt like that for a minute. And then
Right.
like once he got in office, it was quiet. Now you and I know, you've been black long enough to know nothing changed on the street. The street didn't, right? Like it's a matter of where the focus is being put.
Right.
You know,
Right.
going to us, we don't know what's happening. I mean, we can't control social media that way. But the reality is, regular news and stuff like that, what they choose to put in front of us does make a difference in it
Yeah.
drives most people because most people aren't, hate to say it, aren't awake. They're just not. We're
This
just
is true.
we're not a culture. Man, I could talk about that all day, but we're just not awake people.
Yeah.
And to me, people of color are even more asleep because we don't. It's taking us longer to realize how far behind we really are. Like we know we're behind, but I don't think we really get the context. So, like with my
Yeah.
son, for example, and I know you have sons too that are, I mean, they're still young, but like my son
Mhm.
being 4 months, I'm like, the heck am I going to be like? Do I even want him to go down the college path? Like maybe, like if that's what he wants to
Right.
do, but I want him to fully grasp the fact that he may be just as well off not going. He may be just as well off creating his own at age 18, 19, 17, 16. You see these
There
kids,
you go.
my daughter, I have a stepdaughter who's 9, she's watching
Hmm.
this foolishness with some stuff on these videos. And I'm like, these people create a living off the dumbest stuff you've ever seen in your
Yeah.
life, but they're creating a living from it. So I can't be mad at them because they're getting it done. So I'm just like, we got to rethink how we raise our kids and get our kids
Definitely.
to think. The problem is social media is in their hands and driving their thought process. So somehow we got to get in there and be the louder voice. So I know it's
Definitely.
9 now, but let me ask you, and kind of in closing, tell me what are you taking on new folks now? Are you open for new folks?
Um, so funny thing is, I'm I'm very I've gotten very very active in activism. So I'm doing some different things. I'm
Okay.
doing some different things in addition to my coaching.
Okay.
So I'm not actively I can say I'm not actively accepting or looking for new clients right now at this point. Because of that, because I have a few people right now who have literally just kind of sought me out because of some different things that I've done in Delaware
Mhm.
to start with just some social justice issues and
Wow.
facing some
Gee.
yeah, facing some different injustices. So there's been different so I've had a lot of different things coming at me from a different direction than I've been typically used to. But what I find is that it's actually all parallel because I've been helping people all my life. So I'm just helping people in a different way. I'm helping people
Yeah,
in a different way now.
what you
So
find is that the pattern was always there. We just always recognize it. You know, we may, oh, well, I like to do this, I like to do that. And we think of the thing in isolation, but it really isn't in isolation. It's how we're wired. And that's kind of how I've always been.
yeah,
So like people would bring their issues to me, even when I don't know them that well. They would just
yeah,
pour out. So, oh, that's cool. So,
yeah.
but you don't see yourself going into like politics or anything yourself, or do you?
No, I don't have any political aspirations myself. But of course already there's that murmuring. Um, just because I think because when you have somebody who genuinely cares and doesn't want anything from people, that's so rare
Hmm.
that that people that people want people like that to stand up for them. And people want individuals like that, I guess, to represent it because you don't have your own personal interests involved. So
Yeah.
um, but my own aspirations, I don't have political aspirations myself. I want to help our politics and our political structure along a little bit. That's what I like to do. So I have I have been I've had the privilege of connecting and having some very good conversations with quite a few local and even not local politicians.
Hmm.
Um I think I'm finding my place in my space, being able to be a bridge between the people and the politicians.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
good. I think, yeah, I think there's very much needed because we really, again, in particular as a people, I don't know that we get that connection as well as maybe some other people do. Like we'll have a bunch of family in South Carolina, and they're quick to write to the representatives in different areas and get and annoying the heck out of people, the governor even if they had to, because there was something like we had a family member move down there and they were right from Pennsylvania, so they didn't have some things that they wanted her to have to get
mhm.
some care, and they bothered the governor down there so much. The governor was like, just get her whatever she needs, and it got the wheels turning. But we don't. I never even thought about reaching out to an elected official for anything,
Yeah.
like directly. You know what I mean? To move, even for stuff that clearly is a problem. And anyway, yeah, we can talk about
That's
that today.
yeah, that's what they're there for.
There's a lot to
That's
there's a lot to be said on in that whole arena. But maybe that'll be a future type of different type of conversation.
definitely. Yeah.
Definitely enjoyed this conversation with you and getting to know you again and spend some time with you. And I thank you for your time, taking time out of your travels. Uh, you know, I'm not
Certainly.
not a high level politician, so no, I'm just kidding. No,
Well,
I
no.
definitely enjoyed the conversation, and look forward to connecting with you at some level down in the future.
Same here. And I apologize. I should apologize about this in the beginning. I thought my lighting in this area was going to be better. So I apologize about not the best lighting here.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's okay. 'Cause
yeah,
I feel like I can still see you now. I mean, I know what you look like,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I was like, when you first came on, I'm looking behind you. I was like, yeah, it's gonna get pitch black behind him.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I did come out to the exterior portion here because it's a nice environment out here, but I didn't I didn't pre-plan with the whole with the lighting going down. So
Yeah, it's to me, I find that to be hard, especially. I'm assuming you're just using your phone anyway, right? You're on your phone.
I am on the,
Yeah.
yep, I use the
So
phone.
to
Yeah.
me, it's kind of hard to find a place where the lighting, and then your phone is trying to make adjustments. You know,
Yeah,
like if it
yeah,
picks up light, it's trying to tone that down and stuff. And I've seen that before where my camera is darker than my webcam because it's making adjustments that the webcam is not going to make. So
yeah.
anyway, but that's fine. It's fine. It was a good conversation. And again, I appreciate your time. Spending that hour with me, having that conversation.
Same here.
So,
I appreciate you.
all right, enjoy your time in Florida, bro. Have a good one.
All right. All
Safety.
right, you too.
All right.